Welcome back to the Ready, Fire, Aim podcast. I am your host, Thad Barnes, and today we're here with Troy Stange of BrandPop. Troy, great to see you again, my friend. Welcome.
Hey, Thad. Thanks for having me on.
I love those. I hadn't commented when we were off the air, but I'm super into food and travel, and both of those look like they kind of fit that bill. Those pictures behind you.
Oh yeah. So the one in the middle, this one here is actually a signed poster from the band Decemberists. And then this one has a companion one, and those are actually paper samples I picked up at a design conference, I don't know, 15 years ago that I just thought they were so cool. So I framed them.
The Decemberance one, for some reason I thought it was like a picture of like somewhere in France. I don't know why it brought that to my mind, like the Moulin Rouge or somewhere. I mean, it was just like, and then there's a glass of like either wine or brandy next to it. I thought, well, yeah, perfect. I'm in.
Yeah, the Decemberists. The wife of the singer is also an artist, and this is her illustration of the Edgefield in Troutdale, Oregon, where there's an outdoor venue, and it used to be a mental hospital, and so they changed it into this big. I don't know if you know who McMinimans are, but it's a big deal around here. They do these really weird artistic venues and restaurants and concert places, and they make a lot of really cool art about it. But yeah, this is a poster from that band.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, what I know about Oregon is mostly football related. I'm a big college football guy, and so I'm wearing a Nevada Wolfpack where I went to school, and I've been to Eugene and Portland, and I've seen the stadiums up there, and yeah, Oregon's a cool place. One of the times I was traveling up the 5, so I'm in Reno, so we kind of go through the mountains, through the Sierra, get over to the 5, and then head north to Eugene, and we're driving around, and it's like, October, it's college football time, and we're driving through fields, green fields, just beautiful ranch land, farmland kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, ways up the road, we can see this kind of cloud of white off to the side. And we're like, that's really weird. What is that? As we get closer, it turns out there's a bald eagle. It's got a lamb in the field that it has caught and killed, and it is just tearing the wool off the lamb to get to the meat and the carcass. Like, holy smokes, that was one of the most brutal but beautiful things I've ever seen. It was so cool.
Yeah, that happens a lot around here.
You guys have a lot of bald eagles up there?
Yeah, they're not that rare. I mean, you see them just out on the river. They're around. I mean, they're cool to see, but yeah, it's not too uncommon.
It's not the once in a lifetime like for some of us that don't live there.
Well, I mean, seeing one tear a sheep or a lamb apart that's unique.
200 yards off the freeway. I was like, wow, that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, man. So what, have you lived in Oregon your whole life?
No, I grew up in Alaska, actually. And I moved to Arizona to go to design school. I mean, sort of cutting this a little short, but I went to Arizona and Tempe to go to design school way back when. Then and it was coming out of one of Alaska's coldest winters. It was cold when I left, and I really wanted to A, go to design school, and B, thaw out. So I went to Arizona, and the first day I got there was just the most beautiful winter day. I was like, man, this is amazing. And then the next like 10 years were the exact same, only hotter and cold. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. Had I not met my wife in Arizona, I would have left a lot earlier. It took me a long time to get her out of there. But
yeah, Arizona is beautiful in short bursts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in winter.
Yeah, in the winter.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, when you come from a really cold climate and you go there in the winter and you think, oh, 65, this is beautiful. And people are wearing like down jackets and stuff. What is the matter?
Yeah. 65 around here, people are in shorts and tanks all the time.
Yeah. I've been to spring training in Arizona. It was very much like that. Like, it's March. We just left Reno where it was 30 degrees and, land at the airport 65, flip-flops it is. And everyone's in coats and long pants and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how that goes. So you went to design school there.
Yeah.
But you're not in design now. So what was that like? Like, why'd you choose design? What'd you do with that? What was that story like?
Well, so I was a horrible student all through high school, and I didn't really have any direction. So I went to school in Southern Oregon, and all I did was just go to parties and have fun. And after a while, they invited me to leave. And so I took them up on that offer because I wasn't really finding anything I was interested in. I did really well in, but I couldn't find the thing that I wanted to do. And so I go back to Alaska. I'm just kicking around and just, doing nothing, working odd jobs. And my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, just said, "Hey, you're creative. Why don't you go be a designer?" And I was like, "Ooh, that's a good idea." Because I was always into art and drawing, and
Mm,
love that stuff. And then within a month, I was in Arizona and
okay.
going to design school. Yeah,
Did
and
you go to like ASU, or I mean, it was a specific design school?
yeah, it was a specific design school. I don't even think it's in business anymore. It was just kind of a janky little school, but I got out of it what I needed to, and I had a close to a 30-year career in it so far. Yeah.
Did you go work for someone, or did you open up your own studio right away?
Well, I mean, coming out of design school, you're not prepared to uh, to open your own design thing. I mean, unless you're just a certain type of person that is really good at business and marketing and everything else. I did do that, and it failed spectacularly. I mean, it was quick that I realized that I don't know what I'm doing and I don't understand my skills and whatever. So I took a couple jobs, and yeah, it was all I worked at. I've held since pretty much every title you can have in design, from junior designer to design director at a large company. But most of my career has been as a freelancer. So I typically have worked with agencies doing work for big tech companies, Google, Facebook,
Yeah.
Adobe, all those, and a bunch of other financial and but mostly high tech, Fortune
Mhm.
500 companies. And yeah, I did that for a long, long time.
What's that journey like working for a company that size? I could imagine the process and the red tape that they impose upon their vendors. Is it like that, or am I just making that up?
No, it's a big deal, and that's why I always went through agencies, because it's really easy to get into an agency, and it's notoriously difficult to become a vendor for like Microsoft, for example. I let them get the work, and they brought the work to me, and they would just call me up and say, "Hey, Troy, get on it. We got this thing due next week."
What's like one of your most memorable projects? I mean, if you're under NDAs and you can't disclose it, but do you have something that really stands out?
Um, Well, I have a lot of interesting. So I do a lot of events. So I do a lot of PowerPoint. I became known as the PowerPoint guy. So I do a lot of big decks for the CTOs, the CEOs at their big events, and we would always end up in Las Vegas or other places around Chicago and New York and everything else doing their big events. And the work itself was cool, and I was good at it, but it was more about the event and more about what we had to go through to get it done than it was the actual project. I have had some projects that were recently. There was one project that was a climate project that it was in front of 17 heads of state. It was delivered to them. I did a project for the Prime Minister of Singapore, and showing them how to take all of their sort of geriatric, the older group, older people leaving the workforce, and then how to re-engage them and then grow their GDP and keep their health up and their sanity up. And so those were really cool. I did one for, what's the guy's name at Virgin? Um,
Richard Branson?
Richard Branson, yeah. So he's got
Really?
he's got that island out there, and the agency that employed me had a deck that they took there that was climate change sort of focused, and that was a presentation there. So yeah, I mean those were a lot of fun. I mean it was just cool to do the project rather than the project itself. It's just organization of content and making it easy to digest for the audience. I mean that's basically what I did, and tried to make them look as cool as possible. One time, one of the speakers was uh, Barack Obama. Another one was Naiad. What was her name? The one who swam the English Channel when she was 67 or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that story.
There's a movie about it now. and saw her talk. And so it's been, just a personal journey in going and seeing all those things and those people, and go to those cool places and everything. The projects themselves, after a while, you kind of get a little numb to them, but it's the process and the places where you go and the people you work with, and that's what I found the most rewarding.
What's your favorite place that you've been?
Oh, the, it was a project early on for Microsoft. It's for their sales. No, it's for MSN, and it was always about making the sales team better at what they do, and that was our main push with MSN. And they brought me to this really swanky place, some beautiful hotel on the beach and everything. And I had my own room and had my own room. Just it was like it was plush living, and I had nothing to do there. And I was just like, there was nothing for me to do, and I was just like, just hanging out with all these people, and getting to know all these higher ups at MSN, and just the work was mostly done. I don't even know why they took me there, but it was awesome.
But you got to go, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. Most of it's not like that. Most of it's a lot of work. When you go somewhere and do an event for people, I mean, you're up all night. You're changing things, right before they get on stage. It's a battle. It's a
That's
battle.
interesting. So sometimes they don't even have time to like rehearse what they've gone through, what you've put together for them.
Well, I mean, they do, but the changes, they do it on stage, but they'll be on stage practicing, and then they'll be making changes, just within an hour of when they're going to be on stage. You'd think it's like all buttoned down and everything, but people do not pay attention to their PowerPoints, their decks, until the last minute. It's rough. I mean,
They're busy running other parts of the
yeah,
business or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. These are higher ups and their assistants are making these changes for them, and yeah, it's a nightmare.
I would imagine though that once you've done enough of those kinds of, keynote addresses or where you're the guest speaker, you probably are pretty comfortable with just winging it and seeing what's on the slide and just going because the material inside and out, what order it's going in or whatever, probably doesn't make that much of a difference, I suppose.
Yeah, usually not. Usually these guys, these people will have given versions of this speech, many times, right? All the new products coming out of their division or whatever, all the new inventions they've come up with, all their new strategies and everything. It's all stuff that they talked about. It's just sort of tailoring it to a particular audience. And when it comes to their big events, they want to just, really pack the wow factor into it.
Mm-hmm. The one liners, the big hits, the big announcement.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool graphics and just, as best they can.
So do you have to be like an expert research person as well, being able to pull all this data and put it in a digestible format that pops?
No, you have to be more like a therapist and just a strategist as well. Like, you asked me to put all these things on a slide out, and it's just not digestible in this way. So they give me all this content, and I give it to them the way they ask for it, and then I show them how. I give them another version. It's like, look, this is what needs to be on there, not all this garbage over here. People don't. If you're not an expert at PowerPoints, you don't really know what should be on the slide, and you just give people too much to absorb.
Interesting. So when I think of a design creative person, I don't think of those kinds of things. It's interesting to see it in that light where you really have to be, it's not just about, form. It has to function and it has to engage the audience in a, I don't want to say visceral, but in a way that connects with them emotionally, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so often people tend to use a PowerPoint as like information delivery rather than a backdrop or something that supports their argument, rather than, just everything that they're about to say, put it behind me. It's like,
Is that the worst when they just read the lines off
yeah,
the slide?
and that's where the therapy comes in. It's like, look, they want to listen to you. They don't want to read while you're talking, and they're not going to listen and they're not going to read if you give them too much of both.
That's why I mean, some of the most memorable presentations and keynotes I've seen, for example, like the Steve Jobs of the world, it's just a picture of the iPhone. He's going to tell you all the cool stuff it does. It doesn't say anything. It's just a picture.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. That's exactly what it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever write anything for Apple or do any of their stuff?
Oh, no, they're an incredible design company from top to bottom. I mean, if you're doing if you're doing stuff for Apple, you work there.
You are an Apple employee, not an agency outside.
Yeah, a
Mm.
lot of the time, yeah. And what's funny is like a lot of the people, they all want a deck that looks like Apple, and then you show them a deck that looks like Apple, and they're like, we don't want that. You know, they have no idea what to do with it. It's funny. You give them something like really elegant and sophisticated and minimalist that relies on you. You are then the less on the screen, the more it's got to come out of you. And most of these people are not Steve Jobs. They can't hold attention like that. So,
They need some kind of a crutch.
exactly. Yeah.
So how did you go from, or how did you incorporate, I guess, where was the interest that came through? We talked about weightlifting and bodybuilding and those kinds of things before. Where does that fit into your design? I mean, how did that all of a sudden just enter the lexicon of Troy?
That is mostly to keep my sanity. So, like I said, I'm basically, or was basically, a freelancer doing design. I do it at home mostly. So you turn into a hermit. Really, it's really easy to just like hole up in your room and just like pound stuff out and take meetings on Zoom and Teams and whatever. And it's just and so that became my big portion of my social life, right? Just the same people you go to the gym and you meet them and you're talking about the stuff you talk about there. And with weightlifting, you can't really think about other stuff. It's a great time to go reset, to stay in shape, which really helps you think and just be a better everything. But yeah, I was really into CrossFit, and they do a lot of weightlifting in it now. And basically, CrossFit saved the weightlifting uh, world. It used to be just no one ever did it. It was a dying sport, and then CrossFit incorporated it, and that's where I really fell in love with it. It's like, wow, this is a lot of fun. And I haven't done CrossFit for a long, long time. But back in the day, I was trying to go do their games. I was really sort of upper tier there. But it's just, if you become a competitive CrossFitter, it's a rough life.
It's more than a full-time job, right?
Yeah, and it just is pain. It's pain, and you don't feel good a lot. Weightlifting is not that bad, really.
So when you're talking about weightlifting, you're not talking about power lifters. That's a different thing, right?
Yeah, there's the two things that weightlifting gets confused with is powerlifting and bodybuilding. So bodybuilding is you're just trying to have a perfect physique, and then your competition is you stand there and you flex and do all these cool sort of routines and everything. Powerlifting is where it's just based on these three lifts, and they're just all brute force lifts, which is great.
Like
I
explosive power.
Yeah, not as explosive as Olympic weightlifting. So powerlifting is just like strong. It's kind of strongman looking, where they throw kegs around and pick up cars and
Seen that,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think it's all cool, but it's the weightlifting is the thing that just really attracted me, just because it's a lot like golf, because it's so difficult to do right. Like a good golf swing, you'll hit it like 20 times. Like me, most regular people don't have a perfect swing. Even the pro golfers don't have. It's not perfect every time, and you got to adjust, and it's constant change and fine tuning and tweaking. So there's a lot of. I mean, it's so complex, even though to most people you would never think that it is, but you just change tiny little things all the time to just eke out one more kilogram, and just or hold it a little better or be more consistent. It's that sort of it gives you just another mental puzzle on top of having to be strong and explosive.
So powerlifting, you said, is 3 lifts.
Yeah,
What are those 3?
deadlift, squat, and bench.
Okay,
And
but
then
but
yeah,
weightlifting is not that. What is weightlifting specifically?
it's 2 lifts. So it's the snatch and the clean and jerk. So instead of 3, it's 2. And it's funny that you can make an entire career in sport out of just 2 lifts. It's funny, but it's true. But it takes every muscle. You've got and your mind too, and a lot of emotional sort of control.
And so CrossFit started incorporating the snatch and clean and jerk into there.
Yeah, they sure
routines?
did. They sure
Wow.
did. It was a dying sport until then. Then all these CrossFitters fell in love with it, and then all of a sudden, all the weightlifting meets had a bunch of CrossFitters in them, and then a bunch of those CrossFitters left CrossFit and just turned the. And then now it's a much larger deal than it used to be. It was a dying sport.
And are you still competing in that?
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Worlds in Vegas in 1 month, in less than a month, actually.
And did you have to qualify for that?
I did. Yeah, I qualified at nationals.
Wow. So what is how is it measured? Is it just pure weight? Is it also technique and style, or is it, how's that work?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, you got to get some weight on a bar over your head, right? So if it
Okay.
doesn't go over your head, you didn't do it. But you get 3 tries at both lifts, and other people are sort of intermingled with you. There's a big strategy for how you do it. You make the other guy lift, and then if they don't want to go, then they're going to raise their weight and then make you go now. And then you're like, well, no, I'm going to put 1 more kilogram on, make you go now. I'm tired. And then so there's a lot of that sort of strategy behind that. But um, so you do 3 of those, and then you do that. You start with a snatch. You do 3 lifts in the snatch, and then you get a break, and then do 3 lifts of the clean and jerk, in the same way. And then so you can get a medal or you're ranked in the snatch, and you're ranked in the clean and jerk, and then you're ranked in your total for both. The total is the one that really most people care about, weightlifters anyway. But some people just go there and just they're snatch specialists or clean and jerk specialists, and they don't even do the other one. They just want to, I'm gonna crush this one, but I'm not good at that one, so I'm just gonna do this one.
So I'm going to be the best in the world at snatch only, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, but that doesn't happen in the Olympics. In the Olympics, you got to do both. No
You
one,
have
no
to do
one
'em.
goes to the Olympics and just does one.
Hmm.
It's all about the total.
So if you're qualified for the worlds, right? Can you still qualify for the Olympics, or are you not considered an amateur anymore? Or how does that work?
Well, I mean, like I could, but there's no way on the planet that anybody my age is going to the Olympics. Not in any stretch of the imagination. No. So that I'm in the masters category. I'm 57. So
You look
yeah.
great.
Oh, thanks. It's just it's you can't possibly compete with these people if you're not in your 20s. It's just not gonna ever happen. But I suppose you could, but you just need a qualifying total. But it's not happening.
It's just not going to be there.
It's like other world. It's a different reality. There are different species almost. There's no way it happens.
And how many people are qualified for the worlds in your category?
Well, not many. There's not a lot. I think there's maybe probably 20, 25.
So you're in the top 25 in the world in your group, in your category.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I was number 3 in the country last year.
Wow. That's awesome. Holy shit. I've never talked to anybody at that level of anything, really. That's incredible.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not that there's not that many people who do it at my age, right? It's a small group. It's
Well, you
not.
said 25. I mean, and you're in the top 3, so that's pretty damn good to me.
Well, yeah, it's for whatever reason I loved it. I got good at it, and I just stuck with it. I think that's most of it, is just keep doing it. If you like it and you stick with it. A lot of people when they think about going to the gym, it's something that they're like sort of like, oh, it's I just gotta go get, check this box. But it's something that I really look forward to. I just really enjoy it.
How much does nutrition play a part in your routine in terms of this?
Well, I mean, just in general, it's huge, right? You're not gonna get very far if you're not minding the amount of protein, and macronutrients and everything, and you're just not gonna feel good if you don't do it properly. Um, I don't, the reason I sort of pause is because I don't really, I've sort of just always ate well, so I don't really have to pay attention to it too much. I know I could do better, but yeah, it's not a thing for us, for my family. We just always eat well. We cook every night and cook for kids and everything. So it's just something, it's incorporated into our lives. It's sort of don't really have to think about it.
And we're in the same boat. I think we go out to dinner 4 times a year would be a lot.
Wow.
Right, we do cook every single night, so I can appreciate that. I'm sure we are not butter is a mainstay of our recipes. So I'm sure we're not eating as cleanly as you are, but
Butter's not, it's not that bad. Pretty good for.
well, I don't. I wonder. I'm gonna have to look at that now. I wonder how much butter we go through in a week. It's a lot. It's many sticks.
I just went around, I just did a trip around Mount Hood. We went backpacking around Mount Hood this last week, and we were telling all these stories. It's 42 miles. There's 10,000 feet of elevation gain and loss, and we did it in 3 days. And it's rough.
That's a lot.
And you gotta mind. That's when you have to pay attention to your food, right? Because you're carrying everything that you're going to eat. So you gotta bring everything with you and plan it accordingly. I've heard stories of people in Alaska that they would climb mountains in the winter, and they would just have a backpack full of frozen butter, and that's it.
And that's it.
Nothing else. Most calorie dense that you're going to get, and the right kind of calories for you to sustain you doing some really messed up things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's got lactic acids and all kinds of stuff in it, and enzymes, and I suppose butter has protein, right? I mean, it comes from cows, so
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get most of your. It's a great sort of endurance energy source,
okay.
right? It can make you fat if you eat too much of it and don't exercise, but really there's not really much wrong with butter unless you're maybe lactose intolerant or something.
All
Yeah.
right. So now I have a reason to eat more butter. You heard it
Nothing
here
wrong with
first.
eating butter. Just don't eat too much of it. Same with sugar, actually. Sugar is not bad for you. It's just how much you eat.
Do you think that there's a difference between raw sugar and refined sugar? Really?
I know. I couldn't.
I don't either, but yeah, you see that, and you hear they talk about how refined sugar is the downfall of Western civilization, and it's causing our children to be fat and all these kinds of things. And I wonder if raw sugar really is that much different.
No, there's nothing wrong with sugar. And I know I'm probably going to catch some heat for that, but the problem is just having too much. Any kind of sugar, the high fructose corn syrup, all that stuff, not bad for you. There's nothing. Your body takes it, fructose, sucrose, all the glucose, all those are nothing wrong with them. It's just the fact that if you eat too much of them, you're going to become intolerant, or insulin resistant. Right. So when you become insulin resistant, that's when you turn in, you get diabetes. You get fat and all these other things, the metabolic syndrome diseases that you get. But yeah, unless you have a real problem with sugar, just in general, sugar's not bad for you, no matter in any kind. It's just, you just eat too much of it and don't exercise enough.
That's probably the same with just about anything. You could eat
totally
carrots and celery your whole life, but if you eat too much, probably something's going to go wrong.
Gotta be, right? Something has to happen.
You got to moderate. Moderation of everything, even moderation. Sometimes you got to go overboard with something.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've said that a bunch of times.
Yeah. And the inverse is true. I mean, it's been shown many times. You could eat McDonald's 3 meals a day. If you keep the calorie count low, you aren't going to necessarily gain weight. It doesn't mean you're healthy, but you're not going to just balloon up. If you keep your calorie count at 1,200 a day, you're going to lose weight, even if it's McDonald's.
Totally. There was a Netflix documentary on that. Because there was a guy who came on, did Super Size Me or something, and he was trying to show how bad McDonald's was for you, and he would just like eat as much McDonald's as he could for every meal. And yeah, he got all messed up. Another guy did another Netflix documentary saying that guy was full of shit, and he went to McDonald's, did the same thing, only he didn't have the shaken fries, and all of his blood markers looked better than they did when he started, and he lost weight.
Yeah. So there you go. You heard it here first. Troy says you can eat McDonald's every day and lose weight.
Well, yeah.
I'm kidding. So, all right. So you went through design school. You worked for some amazing companies, did some amazing stuff there. But at some point you said, this isn't where I see myself continuing to go. What was that transition like, and where did you go?
Yeah. So I'm an early adopter of pretty much anything. Like, I will try all the new stuff. And when AI popped out, I was the first one in my family to like start talking about it. And they started giving me side glances, like, what are you even talking about? And I was like, this is really cool. And just like the web and the school I chose for design, they were the only ones teaching computers at the time in the early 90s. And other schools had like airbrush, and they had airbrush like class from 1 to 8. Airbrush 1, airbrush 2, airbrush. And it's like these, but we got computers over here. What are you talking about airbrushes? And so it's sort of the same way. I just kept digging into it, and I got super excited about it. And and yeah, I figured there's a way to make it really useful, right? And I mean, that's the idea, is how to make it useful. And with design, it's really hard to pinpoint your efforts to any bottom line, right? If I redesign your logo or do a PowerPoint for you, I can't point to a bottom line and say, look how much money I made you, or look at the effect on the bottom line, and what have we done, and what result was it because of my or our efforts. And it's just like, well, engagement went up, and that we're getting a positive response on social and blah blah blah. It's like, and it just looks better, and maybe it shows the company better, but there's no real straight line from your efforts to impact, right?
To a balance sheet of any kind.
Exactly. And so when I want to see something more direct, I want to be able to create things, processes, and things that I can point to that shows a real impact. And so the AI tool that I have now, that's all it does. It's just pure data. It's like, you made a bunch of money today, and because of this, and that was exciting. So that's what I'm working with now.
And so that's what BrandPop is.
That's exactly what BrandPop is. Yeah.
And so tell me about the tool. How do I take BrandPop and say, client, this is exactly how much money you made? What does that look like?
Right. So if you're a business owner, you advertise online, you get a bunch of leads in, your database grows, the leads come in, you contact them, you make a sale on some percentage, right? And the rest usually sit in your database. If you're a smaller company, it's not something easy for you to go digging through that database and reconnecting with those people. If you're going to do it manually, you're now competing with all the new leads that are coming in today, with trying to reconnect with the leads that you already tried connecting with, and they either ghosted you or said no, or maybe later, or they said yes, and then sort of went away. So this tool will take all of your old leads and go and reconnect them in a really simple human conversational tone to say, hey, you talked to us maybe 5 months ago, a month ago, a year ago. You're interested in this and that, in your product, and we're just contacting you to see if you might still be interested. And it can do that at scale. It can send out 10,000 of these texts a day. It does it through SMS. It also does it through WhatsApp and email, but text is the best way to go in the United States. There's other countries that WhatsApp is better.
Sure.
And it gets a higher percentage than just even warm emails. The engagement is really high compared to email, because your spam box just fills up. Everybody checks their text, right? Everyone at least looks at it, right? And they see it. With email, it's getting put into spam. You just gloss over it as it comes in.
Yeah.
But when an SMS comes in saying, hey, you contacted such and such a company and you're interested in this a few months ago, are you interested in talking about it now? And then it holds a conversation about that. And it will bring all these leads, as a good percentage of them, back into the company, and turn it back into revenue, send it back to the salespeople. They can close the deals, and then we get a cut.
So that's an amazing thing, because I mean, I've been in business a long time, and salespeople notoriously do not want to try and go reactivate old leads. They figure, that person hasn't talked to us in 90 days. I don't have time for that. I got new leads coming in. I got to deal with these.
Absolutely. Who wants to try and dig up? It's something that companies will only do if the new leads aren't coming in. You know what I mean? They're not going to go digging through their old leads unless things are they're in trouble, or they need to they have a big quota looming over their head. They're like, or they're out of the round robin loop of whatever, and they don't got a big list in front of them. So whatever, I'll start digging through these. And but it doesn't really work. I mean, the manual effort is just so slow.
Yeah. And like you said, we were talking off air, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing, right? So
Right.
if you can tell a company your salespeople don't have time, what about 50% of your profits total? I mean, and that's above and beyond anything you're doing right now. That seems like a no brainer.
Yeah, yeah, it's it's there. It's a gold mine that it's like gold mining, right? So like, there's a bunch of dirt in a river that you're going through. There's a lot more dirt than there is gold, but you can make money, finding gold in rivers. Or you can have an AI do it, and not have to really deal with it.
That's the beauty of AI in this case, is that it can just do all of the outreach for you. I'm imagining a scenario where it can actually have an actual conversation that's not 100% scripted. Certainly as a framework, I would imagine, but not scripted, right?
Exactly, exactly. The opening line is a bit scripted, right? You write that one, and you want to write that one really well. And then there's some qualifying questions, but it'll ask it in whatever way it sees fit. And then there's another AI that sort of moderates everything to make sure the conversation is going well. And if it's not, it flags it, and then we deal with it. But yeah, when we make it look really personalized, like it's coming from a person. It's very conversational. It's not, hi, first name, how are you? It's something you'd be hard pressed to know, especially with ChatGPT 5. So I've recently updated to that, and that tool is it's made it even faster and much more human sounding.
Interesting, because I've talked to some people recently since the GPT-5 dropped, and their impression was that it bombed spectacularly, that it was terrible.
I haven't seen that.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen that. Okay.
no. And in fact, there's another tool, and how you and I got hooked up is through Bordy, right? Yeah, and so Bordy is now really amazing. Bordy's the way that the intros that it makes, and the tone that it takes with in speaking, and remembers much better. Yeah, GPT-5 has been nothing. Well, I to be transparent, I haven't used it much um, in the AI tool, but when I test it, it looks great.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. You mentioned Bordy. I mean, that has been a game, to use an AI term, that has been a game changer for businesses looking to just connect with interesting people. It's not always about sales. It's about, how could we collaborate? How can I get to know you to refer business to you? Things like that.
sure.
Bordy is incredible. In fact, just before we hopped on the show today, I was using Bordy to chat with it, talk to it about, other things that I'd like to do, other people I'd like to meet. It's incredible.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So, quick little anecdote. So my family owns a vineyard in Oregon, in Southern Oregon, and or they rather they did. They sold it 2 years ago, and they have now a about 500 cases of really nice uh, Oregon Pinot Noir, but they have no more winery to sell it out of. Right, so it's hard to their retirement age. They're just having fun traveling and everything, but they got to get rid of this premium wine, and they can't do it through their wine club at that volume. And they're really struggling to try and move it. And then I said, oh, I have an idea, and I called up Bordy in front of my mom, and I said, here, talk to Bordy. And then we had this conversation with Bordy, and to find people who could help move the wine. And Bordy hooked us up with a person, with two people in Canada and another in Ireland, I think, and to just help us, move this wholesale wine. And so now we're working through WhatsApp, trying to figure out, what's the best way to do it. And it's just, you can use Bordy to, find people to ask for advice. And I've done that before with him too. It's like, I want to talk about, I want to show this to some really high end marketers, or CMOs, and figure out how to do, what best way can I take BrandPop to the next level and get their feedback on it. And they're giving me suggestions, because we just had a conversation. They're cool enough to get on the phone and take 15 minutes with me and give me their feedback. And yeah, you can use it for a lot of stuff, including strategies. He's pretty good at thinking of ways to to take your business and to strategize, and other verticals you might contact and stuff like that. I love Bordy.
It's incredible to me that Bordy is still free. I don't know how this is, given that they just had a fundraising round. I think I heard they raised like 8 million. I got to believe that those investors are going to look for a return soon. I don't know how they're going to give it to them.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they're going to monetize it sooner or later, but for now it's free, and yeah, you should definitely use it.
Yeah, if you're listening and you're not using Bordy AI, go look them up on LinkedIn, get connected, and it'll give you a phone number to call, have a chat with it. It's incredible. Bordy is next level.
Yeah, Bordy is super cool. I was so impressed with that. You should see my mom's jaw drop when she's having this conversation. He's an Australian accent, super pleasant guy, and yeah, it's great. He's great.
It is. Your family has all this wine. Do you think that it would ever make it into a place where a regular wine drinker like myself would be able to buy it? Would it show up in a Total Wine or a Bevmo or a no?
No, it never did. It was never distributed. So everything that they sold was straight out of the winery. Most of the grapes they sold to King Estate. A lot of people know who King Estate is, and that's actually who bought the vineyard after they sold it. And so that's where 90% of the grapes went. And so they just kept a chunk to themselves, fermented it and bottled it, labeled it, and sold it out of their winery. They did a bunch of hospitality things. But no, the only way you're going to get your hands on it is by me sending you a bottle, which I'll do after this. Yeah.
I'll never say no to a good Oregon Pinot. I cut my teeth out there, man. I took a trip in 2009 and drove up the Oregon coast with the intent of just seeing what happens. And we got all the way to Astoria and then started driving back down. And not long after Astoria, we found a little winery called Flying Dutchman. And their big thing was, we do all of our fermenting and bottling right on the ocean. So you get that, it incorporates itself. The ocean air incorporates itself into the process. And their Pinot was still to this day some of the favorite I've ever had. And I've never had any since. They didn't have a wine club at the time that I could join. So what I bought was all I ever got to drink. But eventually I want to get back up there and see if they're still around.
Yeah, I think I've heard of them. That strikes. I mean, well, it's Flying Dutchman. That's very familiar anyway. Yeah, I don't know who they are, but yeah, there's a lot of good Pinots around here.
Oh man,
they do really well, and including my family, like they have Pinot Gris, they had Merlot, Cabernet. What else they have? They had some Chardonnay, and all those were like down here. Like I don't even, and they're like, "Hey, should we open up?" We're like, "No, I don't want to just bust out the Pinot. That's what I want." Unless we're floating, so they have a few ponds on their property that we go floating on when it gets hot, and that's when you chill out the cold whites and put it in a thermos and just go floating around the pond in the heat.
It reminds me of that movie. What was it? I think it was it Sideways? I can't remember. Where his big line is like, "I'm not drinking the fucking Merlot."
That's right.
That was his big thing.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that. One of my other design clients is the International Marketing Division for California Wines. So I do a lot of work for them. They just and there's a presentation they're giving. As a matter of fact, I was working on it yesterday or the day before. And they mentioned Sideways, the movie, and what it did to Merlot, and it actually tanked the market for a while, but it also so many vineyards got rid of their Merlot because the demand went down. That only the ones who were really good at it kept doing it, and so now all their Merlots out of California are really good. Really, there's nothing wrong with Merlot. There's nothing wrong with it. Even the actor, what was his Giamatti, right?
Yeah, Paul Giamatti. Yeah,
he knows nothing about wine. He admits it. He's like, I don't even know. I am not a wine drinker. I don't know anything about it. He's like, I'm sorry, I did that. But yeah, it's pretty funny that he doesn't know anything about it. But yeah, it's nothing wrong with that grape.
They ought to get a hold of Paul Giamatti and see if he would do like a commercial for the California wine industry.
Yeah,
on a play on that movie scene, and but spin it in a positive direction.
Right. Yeah. I was just kidding, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Merlot. Give me more Merlot.
Right. Exactly.
I really got into cabs a lot. I've never been a white drinker, but started with Pinot. Then I like some Merlots, and then got into Cabernets in the last, I'd say, 5 years. Heavy. I mean, that's almost all I drink. That and Zinfandels, like big, bold, jammy, Rumbauer style, where they're like high alcohol, big wines. You want a big, heavy, meaty steak, but they're jammy and sweet. And yeah,
that's not, That's too much for me. That's too much flavor. Matter of fact, I don't even drink that much wine anymore, and that's sad because I got a bunch of wine downstairs in my cellar, but I don't because they keep giving it to me when we go visit, and I'm like, okay, I'll just put it in there. And my kids are right now doing a trip in Canada. My son and a bunch of his friends just took my truck and drove off to do a camping trip in Canada.
Wow.
And they all came over here last night, and they're like, "Hey, Dad, can I give my friend some of this Pinot?" I'm like, "Yeah, take the good stuff. Here's this one, and here's that one." It's like, I have too much. I got to get rid of this stuff.
You got to have a block party, invite all your neighbors, and just have a big wine tasting.
That's a great idea.
That's the best way to not upset your neighbors when you have a big raucous party is make sure you invite them.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah, no question. Wine makes friends.
It absolutely does. Yeah. We've made some really good friends. We really, in the last 4 years, have gotten into the stuff out of Paso Robles.
Okay.
It's close to where we are in Reno, and we can be there in like 4 hours, and it's not as expensive as Napa. So we really like it. And there's some really great Zins, some great cabs. They're really known for their GSM blends, but those aren't really our favorites. So we kind of stay away from that. But man, it's a really neat area. Really cool.
Yeah, cool. I've been through Napa a couple times, but that's really my only foray into California wines. It's funny, like when your family owns a vineyard and they make really good Pinot Noir, you end up only drinking their Pinot Noir, and you don't like really branch out much. You know what I mean? It's funny, people asking me about all these wines. I have no idea. Like I'm clueless because I'm not a big wine drinker. I was studying to be they wanted to pass the vineyard off to the family. Which meant me really. And so I started taking all these wine classes and everything. And after a while, I was like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah. You got to go through like viticulture and enology, something like that to become you have to know all about the vines. So, and then you got to know how to actually blend wines and.
Right. Yeah. 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 Which, I could do, but it's just not the whole hospitality and, and relying, being a farmer, you're a farmer. Right. And I'm not a farmer. Not a farmer.
You're a weightlifter. Those guys don't farm.
No, we're not farmers. There's a lot of strong farmers out there, but I'm definitely not one of them.
Not one of them. So how do people get a hold of you? I know we mentioned BrandPop AI, but what's the best? Is that the best way? Is go to your website? Do you connect with people on LinkedIn, or what's the best thing?
Yeah, either LinkedIn, the website. The website gives a little more in depth, but usually just connecting with me, email or on LinkedIn, and seeing a demo of how it works. And that's if you're the right company that has that's a fit for this, the light bulbs go off pretty quick. You can see it in people's faces when you show it to them, and they go, oh, and they put two and two together and makes sense.
It's easy choice then. Mm-hmm. Can you ask Bordy to introduce you to someone in particular? Like if I said I want to meet Troy Stange, like, can you introduce me? Does Bordy do that?
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know why he couldn't.
Interesting. I'm going to have to test that and find somebody that I want to meet and see
if he can pinpoint the single person. He won't give you their email. Right. And if he hasn't spoken to you, he's not in his warm network, he says, but he'll send you the LinkedIn, your link to it. But so he will go digging through LinkedIn, even though he hasn't spoken to them. But the real power is in the people that he's spoken to, knows what they're looking for, knows what they want, and then can deduce whether or not it's a good fit, which is great.
It's interesting too. I had the other day, I had a kind of a breakthrough with Bordy in the LinkedIn space where it said, I'm not connected to this person. However, here's their LinkedIn. I said, can you give me an introduction that I can use to connect with them on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Boop, there you go. Use there this. And it gave me the word for word, just copy and paste. And it was great.
Yeah, totally. I do that too. Only I don't with a connection. I don't put a connection message in. I just click and connect.
Yeah.
And then
do you find that it still works good?
Yeah, it works great because then they're going to self-select because they're going to look at your profile if they're interested in all, and if it looks interesting to them, they'll connect, and they're
they're pre-qualifying themselves.
Pre-qualifying themselves, and you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to write a message, and if they're interested, then it's much warmer that way. Plus, you have to write a thing every time.
Yeah, you don't have to come up with some verbiage that doesn't sound like it was written by AI or whatever.
Yeah, or super salesy, scammy, and you're not that guy who says, hey, how you doing? Hey, buy my stuff.
right in their face, get right
Yeah,
into them.
right.
So that speaks to having a really well crafted LinkedIn profile then, right? So it's very clear and transparent of what you do, how you can help any given person that you might be connecting with. That's a really good call to action for people to really look at their LinkedIn profiles and make sure that they're up to date and informative.
Yeah, there's a lot of best practices around it for sure. And I've been changing mine constantly, just like getting tips and putting better things together. And but yeah, I'm not really sure. What do you think about how LinkedIn is sort of operating these days? Do you think it's a garbage heap, or is it is it useful? I mean, it's useful to find people, but like their feed and everything and what pops up, and a lot of it's AI written, and a lot of it is just sort of like, just this belongs on Facebook. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it is still a good place to meet, business like minded individuals, people that might be interested in what you're doing. But I think you have to be very selective about it. And I don't spend any time in the feed, zero, because it's nothing but political stuff that, like you said, should be on Facebook or just left out completely. There's a couple people that I follow that actually post interesting content that has business implications or, social implications outside of political.
yeah,
But generally, I just don't even look at my feed anymore. I don't have time for that.
yeah, I found myself scrolling really quickly. It's like and checking the notifications. They have some cool games on there, by the way.
Really.
Yeah, I play the games are kind of fun. Yeah.
Like mind games, like,
Well,
simulation or,
I like Wordle sort of games.
oh, okay.
Not Wordle, but games like it.
Hmm.
But when you start when you're you get that 10,000-mile stare and you're just not really doing anything and procrastinating. They got some really cool games I like to play.
I had no idea there was games on there. How come LinkedIn didn't make it apparent to me?
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
missing out.
I don't know. They're fun. Don't do
You know
them.
what they say about procrastination, though?
What was that?
The good thing about it is that you always have something planned for later.
That's great.
Well, Troy, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Is there anything coming up that you're excited about beyond what you're doing with SMS and AI? You mentioned Worlds. Is there somewhere that people can kind of follow your progress and how you're doing there and that kind of stuff?
I'm a raging introvert. I don't post much unless I have to. I don't put myself out there. Yeah, I'm just a lurker on social media, really. So, I a lot of people in my gym. It's funny how much it's used. Instagram is used in weightlifting,
Mm,
which made me think that I should be doing that, but I don't
it's
do
not your
enough.
thing.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, we'll be cheering for you no matter what.
All right. Hey, I appreciate that.
Troy, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thank
And
you.
let's do this again, huh?
Yeah, totally. I'm down.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
Have a great one.
All right, you too.